Hi, Nick Suino here from Japanese Martial Arts Center. Lately, my students have been coming to me and saying, "Hey Sensei, I don't understand how to use such and such a Japanese word in the dojo." Or the other thing I've seen a lot of is other instructors who shall remain nameless, who understand the martial arts well and they tend to know what they're doing, but often just simply don't know how to pronounce certain Japanese words associated with the martial art that they teach. So today what I want to do is talk about a few words, actually as many as 50 words, that we use here at the Japanese Martial Arts Center, how they're pronounced, what they mean, and how we've often seen them misused, so that going forward, once you see this video, you'll be able to get them right. The first word that we teach our students is the word "hai." It doesn't mean hi, like, "Hey, how you doing?" What it means is, "Hi, yes, I'll do it. Yes, sir," that kind of thing. When our students use that word, they use it with enthusiasm. It makes a big difference to us. I know as an instructor, when a student shows that kind of enthusiasm, it makes me really want to give back, teach them, and give my energy back to them just the way they're giving it to me. So when they say "hi," it means, "Yes, I'll do it." It's a great thing. We go forward from there. The second word we teach our students here at the Japanese Martial Arts Center is the word "sensei." Sensei, as you probably know, means teacher. Literally, it means born before. Just a term of respect. You can use it in many settings. I know when I lived in Japan, I often used it to refer to elderly people, World War II generation people and so forth. When you had to stop them on the street, say an old guy dropped his wallet or something, you say, "Sensei, sensei." They always turned around, they always smiled. They really appreciated that gesture of respect. Now a few words having to do with the bowing in and the other ceremonial things that we do here at Japanese Martial Arts. The first word is the word "shomen." Shomen means the front or the front direction. It refers to what you see behind me, places that we represent, the traditions and other things associated with our martial art. I want you to understand that the word is pronounced shomen and not shoman, right? You'll hear our students say shoman ni rei. It's not shoman, it's shomen. Pronounced the same way as the word men in English, although it doesn't mean men, it has to do with direction. Shomen. The next word is rei, or are in Japanese, means bow, right, or respect. Shomen ni rei, right? That means bow to the shomen. The next word is seiza. That means to sit, or more importantly, it means to sit correctly. We see a lot of people come in when they're new to the martial arts. They don't sit very well, their backs are arched. Maybe they're uncomfortable in seiza, but seiza is a very good posture to have. It's very receptive. It shows a lot of respect. And once you get it down, it's a place you can spend a lot of time paying attention to what's going on and learning the martial arts while watching from a seated position. Seiza. As I already mentioned, shomen ni rei. Shomen ni to the front, right? Rei. Shomen ni rei. Bow to the front. Sensei ni rei. Bow to the sensei. Otagai ni rei. Bow to one another. Just like there are certain words in English that you don't use to refer to yourself, the same thing is true in Japan. You really don't call yourself sensei, although sometimes we do, just to help people learn who's the sensei and who's not. If I, in my role as an instructor, am advising a group of students that they should bow to me, I really shouldn't say "sensei ni rei." That refers to somebody else. I should say "otagai ni rei." Let's bow to one another. On the other hand, if a senior student is directing that action, they're going to say "sensei ni rei," bow to the sensei. Onegai shimasu is a very important word. Onegai shimasu. It means I'm going to request from you, or I humbly request, right? As if you're going to work together. It's used very commonly in Aikido and throughout Japanese culture when you're asking somebody for a favor or when you're setting up a situation where you're going to be asking them to do something. Onegai shimasu. And then we use a word here at the Japanese Martial Arts Center that means meditate. Mokuso. Mokuso means to meditate. And we call that at the beginning and end of class when we're going to take a short, quiet moment to either get ourselves in the mindset for practice or reflect on what we've just done after practice. Mokuso. So far we've gone through the words "hai," yes, sensei, teacher, shomen, the front, rei, bow, seiza, to sit, shomen ni rei, bow to the shomen or the front, sensei ni rei, bow to the sensei, otagai ni rei, bow to one another, onegai shimasu, I request or I humbly request from you, and mokuso, to meditate. Now let's talk a little bit about counting. It's not always easy for English speakers to count well in Japanese. Take some time to learn. And by the way, I'll caution you, I'm not a native speaker of Japanese. I lived there for 4 years. I studied Japanese in college for about 2 years. But there are people that speak Japanese a lot better than I do. And so if you really want to understand how to speak like a native, go ask somebody who's a native. Don't ask me. I'm just trying to give you a little advice so you don't look like a fool next time you tell somebody how to say something in Japanese. So, you'll hear this all the time, right? Ich, ni, san, shi, go, rok, sich, hach. How do you pronounce those words? So, ich sounds like each in English. That's number one. Number two, ni. Sounds like knee, right? The body part in English. San. 3 is san. 4 is shi, right? Ich, ni, san, shi. 5 is go, just like go to the store, go. 6 is a place people get in trouble. 6 is roku. Rok or roku, right? There's a K there, and a lot of times our students, when they hear the count going fast, they think it's ro. And I gotta tell you, nothing grinds me more than hearing somebody say, ich, ni, san, shi, go, ro, sich, hach. It's not go, row. Don't go row your boat. It's rok. There's a K under there. It's a hard stop to the word. Ich, ni, san, shi, go, rok. And then sich. Well, that's not how you really say it. Sich is actually pronounced shichi. It's just really hard to do when you're an English speaker. Shich. It's not sichi, but you'll hear people say that all the time. Sich. And hach means 8. There are, of course, more numbers. We're not going to cover them today. Just try to remember ich, ni, san, shi, go, rok, sich, shich, really, hach. Now, there's another way to count in Japanese when you're referring to objects or things or actions that take place over time. And you'll also hear that in judo tournaments when people say things like ippon, means 1 point. You also say ippon when you're talking about an action that takes place over time. So you don't say one thing by saying ich, you say ippon, right? Ippon, full point in judo. Ippon, do one thing for me. By the way, in the old days, it was ippen. One of my most respected teachers, the late Nicklaus Suino Sensei, used to say ippen, but it's not used very commonly by young people today. Ippon. Now, it gets a little confusing for us when you go to the other numbers. The P's go away and it becomes an H. Nihon. One thing, one action, ippon. 2, nihon. 3, sambon. 4, yonghon. 5, gohon. It's kind of funny. When I first learned karate, I went to a school where they didn't speak Japanese very well. Now, their karate was good and their intentions were good. They just didn't understand Japanese. So they'd get to yonghon, and we had something called yonghon kumite, which at that dojo was pronounced yanpan kumite. Very funny now. At the time, I didn't understand it at all. So ippon, nihon, sambon, yonghon, gohon. Let me go on to some polite words now. You should be able to say thank you in Japanese. How do you say that? Arigato. But if you're talking to anybody that you need to show any respect for, like an instructor or a senior student, you say arigato gozaimasu. Arigato gozaimasu. That person could say back to you, do itashimashite. Do itashimashite. You're welcome, right? Sort of like, let me count the ways. And then a word that is generally said down the hierarchy from sensei to student is gokuro-sama deshita. My, how you suffered. It's kind of the equivalent of you're welcome or great job, but it's very hierarchical. So, gokuro-sama deshita. At Japanese Martial Arts Center, at the very end of the bowing, when the students all say, arigatou gozaimashita, thank you very much, the instructor says, gokuro-sama deshita. You've done a great job, people. You will sometimes hear people say, in a Japanese context, gambatte or gambatte kudasai. It means work hard, do your best, right? In Japanese, it's not that common for someone to say, rah-rah or go, so-and-so, do a great job. Instead, they say, gambatte, work hard, gambatte kudasai, please do your best. Let me talk to you briefly about a few different martial arts and how you say them. The easy ones, kendo, the way of the sword, right? It's a modern sport done with shinai bamboo swords. Aikido, harmonious energy way, right? The martial art of harmony. Judo, right? The way of adaptability or flexibility. And then, here's some people don't always get right. Karate is very frequently mispronounced in English, especially in North America. I don't know that much about Europe. But here you hear it said karate, right? Or karate, right? If you want to sound like you at least understand Japanese a little, you might want to say karate, right? Kara, empty, te, hand, karate. Jujutsu or jujutsu, right, is often pronounced jujutsu. Well, we get what you mean. You don't pronounce the ending jutsu. That U at the end, jujutsu, does go away, but it probably should sound something more like this, jujutsu, right, or jujutsu. You're not going to get in trouble saying jujutsu. at least not in most dojos. And then iaido, the famous one, right? Oh, sensei, I'd like to study iota, or aido, or aido, right? Lots of ways to mispronounce that. If you're old enough to remember the rhyme, Old MacDonald had a farm, that'll help you a little bit. E-I-E-I-do, right? E-I-do is how you pronounce. E-I-do is how you pronounce the name of the martial art that involves swords. All right, let's talk about some directions. Mai means front or forward. Migi means right. Hidari means left. Ushiro means back or behind. One thing about the word mai, it's not written M-Y or M-A-I. It's actually written, well, it would be written if it were written in English, M-A-E. So it's really not mai, it's mae. It just sounds like mai when we say it fast using our English pronunciation. Mai, forward. Migi, right. Left is hidari. Ushiro is behind or reverse. Here are a few words taken from Judo. Randori, right, means to play fight or to practice, right? It's not the same as shiai. Shiai is a tournament, right, or a match where you're graded, and really you're expected to go pretty hard in shiai. In randori, at least most of the time within your own dojo, you go hard, but you go safe. In a tournament, you go hard and you try to win. Safety may be a little less important in that situation. Some people might tease you and say shobu, right? Shobu is to fight. A shinken shobu, a fight with real swords, means we're really going to go at it. You know, let's have a real fight. Shinken shobu. Sometimes people say that as a joke. Probably somebody looks angry enough when they say it to you. You might want to apologize to them for whatever you've just done. Everybody knows what dojo means, right? Dojo, the way place, the place you study your martial art. Not the same as a juku, right, which is more specifically a school. Sometimes you'll hear Japanese people say skuru. School, right? Skuru. So dojo, way place, or place you study martial arts. Juku, school, right? And skuru, which means school. Not a traditional Japanese word, but an Americanization or a Japanesization of an American or English word. Renshu. Renshu means practice, right? Seishin tanren. You hear that ren at the end? It's the same as renshu. Seishin tanren means hard spiritual training, right? Seishin, having to do with your spirit. Seishin tanren is a word you might want to learn if you're going to stick in martial arts for any length of time at all. We're getting through the list. I got just a few more to go. If you've ever been to a judo match, you've heard some calls, right? Ippon, as we talked about earlier, is a full point. Wazari, right, is really half a point, or waza-ari means there's a technique that exists, right? Yuko is a quarter point. You'll hear them say yame, it means stop. Yame is the command form of yameru, to stop, the verb to stop. You'll hear them say yame, right? Sore made, sore, that, made, that far, right? Go up to that point. So when they say sore made, that means go to that point and stop, or stop, get up, that's the end of the match, right? Now in regular practice, often in Japanese dojos, especially in judo clubs, you'll hear people say a few things to a few different words when they're asking you to train, right? You know, yarimasu ka would be very polite. Typically, judo guys are not that polite. Judo guys and gals are not that polite. And they'll say something like this, yaru, hey, you want to do it, right? Or yarouka, shall we? It's just not a polite way of saying it, but it's a very casual and friendly way of saying it. Yarouka, hey, let's practice. Sometimes they'll say, dekiru, can you do it? Or dekimasu ka, are you capable of doing it? It's not as insulting as it might seem in English. It's really just a way of saying, you know, are you ready to go? Shall we practice some judo? And then if you get hurt, they'll say, daijobu. That means, are you okay, right? Daijobu desu ka? I know it grinds me when someone says that. It makes me sound weak, but in fact, most of the time I think people are just being nice, especially if you're lying on the floor holding your knee and tears are coming out of your eyes. Daijobu is not a bad thing to say. Daijobu, are you okay? Right? Here's a distinction that might be helpful for you. There's two words that kind of pertain to things we do when they're formal, like in kata, right, for karate, or kata for judo, or kata for iaido, right? Kata means form or shape, right? Waza means technique. Now the usage varies from place to place, but typically in judo you have two-person forms, or jujutsu, we have two-person forms that we call kata. Same thing in karate. In iaido, the usage is usually a little bit differently, at least in the environments that I'm familiar with. Usually the forms we call waza, right, techniques. And the kata, the word kata is reserved for two-person forms. Usually they're longer, they involve bokken, and they have a lot more components than the shorter waza, right, which make up the bulk of iaido techniques. Waza versus kata. The weapons you use in sword martial arts are bokken or bokuto, right? Wooden sword. Both bokken and bokuto mean wooden sword. Katana, right, means sword. It's the short foot soldier's sword, roughly 1 meter long or a little less. Iaito is a sword made specifically for iaido. Usually it's not sharp. Usually it's balanced well. Sometimes it's made of alloy rather than steel. Iaito, pronounced again the same way as iaido, iaito, right? And then shinai or shinai. Shinai is the bamboo sword that's used in kendo, right? Composed of several pieces of bamboo held together by strings and a leather handle. Last few weapons, as again we said, there's a jo, which is a 4-foot staff, right? Jo. There's bo, 6-foot staff, sometimes called rokushaku bo, 6-foot rokushaku bo. There's tonfa, right? The rice grinder handles. Kama, the sickles. There's the nunchaku, right? Not nunchucks or nunchucks, but nunchaku. And as we mentioned before about swords, there's something called a shinken, right? A real sword. Shinken means a real sword, like a typical or traditional Japanese sword of folded steel, very sharp, kept in a scabbard, and typically that would probably refer to a katana, but it could also refer to a tachi or a wakizashi or a tanto, shorter swords that are made in the typical traditional Japanese manner. So that's a list of a bunch of words used in the Japanese martial arts. I hope it helps you out. Maybe you can pronounce some of these a little bit better. Maybe you can do better than me by asking a native speaker, but hopefully it helps you understand what the words are used for, how they're pronounced, when it's best to use them. And hey, if you don't understand, you have any questions, or you want to follow up on this, just drop us a line here at Japanese Martial Arts Center. Our email is info@japanesemartialartscenter.com, and we're here to help. We want everybody to understand the benefits of training in Japanese martial arts. We're pretty proud of what we do here, and we'd love to have you stop by for a visit.